Hi, I'm Sami, user researcher here at Synthetic Users, and I'll be quickly showing you how to use Iris, the new feature we recently launched that you can find when you're about to create a new project. So you'll see this option to enable Iris, and let's go ahead and say trying Iris, create your project, make sure Iris is enabled before you do that. Otherwise, you'll be able to, when not enabling Iris, you will be able to run standard studies as you have been doing so far. So you will see that the starting point looks very different. You're not immediately asked to input a description of your audience or your research goal or your concept if you're doing more evaluative testing. You are going to have a conversation with Iris. So this is a very skilled research AI agent that's got expertise, obviously, on how to run research appropriately and effectively, efficiently, based on everything it's learned from the large language models, right? So when the machine was learning. And it's going to handhold you through the process of creating your study and generating your reports. So you any user will benefit from this, whether you're a skilled researcher yourself or if you're not a researcher at all, or it really doesn't matter how long you've been using synthetic users for. The idea here is that on the spectrum of experience, Iris will be able to support you along the way. So we'll start saying, let's say I've just thought of this idea for the demo. I want to understand how healthcare practitioners experience their handholder with So we're going to start a chat with Iris, and what it's going to do is start asking you, basically interviewing us, interrogating us, so that it can then help us build a robust research study. This environment is going to always be chat-based until a point where we have an area on the left-hand side once we've committed to the details of our research study, and we'll be always able to stay in contact with Iris in the chat space, but also view what it's preparing for us in the form of the research study and the reports. Right. So Iris has now understood what I want to do, and it's going to help me set the constraints of this study. So we're going to start by country. I'm just going to go very broad. Let's eat it global and as many types of healthcare practitioners as possible. Actually, I want to run a report study once we're done with the first one because I have an idea that may benefit the science in their experience. So I'm just going to scroll up to see what Iris said. Right, it's already defined the audience for me. I can always edit that if I'd like to, and the research goal. So it's proposed what type of research I should do, and I can always question this if I like. If I want to understand maybe why Iris is suggesting we do it like this, I can just ask a question and it will always answer. So, okay, it understood. That makes sense. Study one, we'll do an exploratory study to understand their handover experience, and then we'll do a concept test to get some feedback on my idea. So now it's trying to lock in my first study number one. For the purposes of the demo, I'm going to say, okay, for study one, let's do a quick one with 5 users. And then for study number two, and language can be English. For study two, what is it asking? It's giving me a plan. So I'll follow up my idea. I want to know, actually, for study number two, could we interview the exact same synthetic users? Just wondering how this works. And let's see what it says. The cool thing about Iris is that it not only works as a research expert, but also it can provide some customer support of sorts. If you have any technical questions about how all this works, you can ask Iris and it'll tell you. And so the setup for the exploratory study is done. We've got our plan, and I'm going to say go ahead and create study one. And then let me read here, reusing the same synthetic users in study two, technically and methodologically. So technically, it's going to explain how we're going to be doing this methodologically. It gives you the pros and cons of doing it in this way. So always providing new suggestions and how to move forward in the process. So we can actually do the second study with the same 5 users. And otherwise, it is suggesting we could do another follow-up study with fresh users if we like. So for study 2, I'd love to use the same sample group. So the nice thing about Iris here also is that it feels like you're working with a research colleague, with an expert in your team. Whether you are very skilled in research already, this can help you narrow down in your topics, in your descriptions, or think of a better approach. And if you're a beginner, then it's going to feel a bit more secure um, as you go along the way. So we've got this pop-up here that's always going to come up before Iris runs the study for you. It's basically showing you what are the inputs it generated for you, and you can always edit these. We're going to create the study. And now Iris turns into, so the environment turns into this. On the left-hand side, you have your study, and we're going to run it. Once we commit to the input fields, the chat turns into this kind of space. So we have the chat always available to us on the right-hand side, and we can do always new sessions if we want to talk about something else. And on the left-hand side, Iris will map everything that it's creating for us at the moment. You've hit run study, and it's telling you how many interviews have been completed so far. Actually, this is for study 1, so it's asking me whether I want to go ahead with these 5 interviews, and it's gonna create my synthetic users. We're not actually going through that process of the standard project. It's all being done in the background. We can always go and see the transcripts if we want, but otherwise you can stay here and let's just say I'd like a quick summary of the findings before we go ahead with study 2. This is the magic word. And so it's reading the interviews. Once that's done, we'll be able to generate the report if we want to generate a report. And I want to show you a very cool thing here about the report generation, which doesn't exist. It's not a possibility in the standard studies, where you can tell Iris, for example, what sort of stakeholders you are going to be presenting the report to, so that the lens of the analysis is done so that the output then is more targeted to your stakeholders. So we're gonna, right? So here's a quick readout. It's already giving me the biggest pain points. I haven't even generated the report, but it's already synthesizing the information for me within the chat. And then this can help me already start thinking about like, oh, maybe I'm gonna tweak my approach for the next phase of study 2. As I don't want to keep you here forever, I went ahead and created the concept test again through the chat functionality. You'll always be able to edit any of these descriptions before Iris runs the study for you. So you have full control of what's created before it is created. Set the number of interviews, etc., as you normally would, and then you will end up having the 2 studies that we've just created side by side. The cool thing here, which I mentioned earlier, is that then I can go and select which studies I want to create a combined report for. So I'm going to go and say, hey, Iris, generate the report for these 2 studies. And it's going to do a combination of that for me. The reports are then going to appear on this side. And you can always go and explore those in detail. So I wanted to show also how you can create a second session within the same project, within the same Iris project. So essentially, you go and you can always toggle between one and another. I'm just gonna delete this one here. That wasn't working. And whilst the report is being created, I could, for example, ask a more technical question around reducing bias. As a researcher, this is always a concern. So I can say, leader, we're going and Iris is gonna answer our questions. And while it thinks, we can have a look at our report and um, design the type of report or the structure of the report in exactly the way that we want it. You can again select which are the studies that are going to be collated and analyzed together, and it creates a table of contents that you can then expand, toggle with, add descriptions, add subsections. And so really this is giving you full control over how this report is generated. You save your changes. I'm going to delete this one so it goes ahead and I can show you what it looks like. And Iris, in the meantime, has answered our question. So like I said, from a researcher perspective, it's going to give you really in-depth answers to each and every one of your questions, so that then you can really feel secure and supported in your creation of your studies. For the purpose of the demo, I'm not going to go into detail as this is quite extensive. But from here, remember, you can always stay in contact with Iris. If you would travel out of this project and come back here, this is always going to remain here for you to continue your conversation. And one thing I wanted to show you actually before we finalize is on our website. If you go to the Science Corner, I recently conducted the one same research study, both with a standard project or standard research type and with Iris. And I ran a comparison. So I invite you to read through this post because there were some differences that I found. And so you can understand when it would be most appropriate to reuse Iris and when not. Okay, so another encouragement is for you to go and have a play with Iris, ask all the questions you want, run all the tests you can, and experience it for yourself. If you have any questions, just drop us a line and we'll be pleased to help you. I hope this was useful and have a nice continuation of your day. Bye now.